good morning. Thank you so much for coming to Highway to High School. We're going to start here in just a couple seconds, and just so everybody knows, we've got a group of 7th and 8th graders here who have come up with some really great questions to ask our panelists. And we'll start today by thanking these kids for coming back to Orchard and taking time out of your busy schedules. We so appreciate you being here. So let's give them a round of applause. And quickly before we get started, if you guys could just introduce yourselves and say what school you're from, and then we'll get started with our questions.
All right. Hi, I'm Will Murray, and I go to Brebeuf Jesuit.
I'm Lucy Coraline, and I also go to Brebeuf.
I'm Stella Beffers, and I go to Carmel.
I'm Matthew Troy, and I go to Cathedral.
I'm Caroline Reddick, and I go to North Central.
I'm Beatrice Colby, and I go to Park Tudor.
I'm Michael Beatty, I go to Shortridge.
I'm Noel McCoy, I go to Shortridge.
I'm Ann McCoy, and I go to Shortridge too.
I'm Julie Monroe, I go to University.
I'm Maddie Sursick, I go to University.
I'm Gordon Bradley, I go to University.
All right, thank you. So we'll start with Brebeuf answering first, and I think Maura's got our first question. So Maura, go ahead.
Yes, we do offer summer school programs, and I would highly recommend, doesn't really matter where you go, I would highly recommend doing something before the school starts, because you become familiar with the environment and the students you're with. I ended up taking 2 classes before I came in to Brebeuf. I took like summer PE and did digital citizenship. So whether or not you enjoy the class, you get to know the kids in the class and you get familiar with the school. So it makes it a lot more comfortable coming in on that first day than walking in not really knowing the school or anyone in it. It just makes it feel more inclusive, and you feel a lot better coming in than.
I would say that the transition was it was like a big change coming from a class of like 55 people to a class of 1,400 people. But it was kind of nice, honestly, to be in an all new environment. But Carmel does not offer summer school to go in to your freshman year.
I feel like the change was also pretty big change because Cathedral's not the biggest school, but there's around 300 in the class. It's a lot bigger than 60, and we do offer summer school, and I did take 2 summer school classes. And if you take a fall sport, you get to meet a lot of people that way. And I highly suggest maybe finding a sport that you'd like to do in the fall and going through it.
The transition honestly wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, because whether or not you do summer school, for the first whole week of high school, there's something called O Week, which is orientation week, and you all get familiarized with your classes, you meet other students, but you're not exactly doing full-on classes yet. And then you do a field day on Friday, and it's just a good way to get familiarized with the school before you start getting too far into academics, but you're still getting started with everything. And so the transition is still a little bit difficult, but it was not nearly as hard as I thought it would be.
The transition to university was pretty easy just because the university and Orchard are pretty similar. We do offer summer school, math, and health PE.
Yeah, I would personally say that if you came from Orchard, you're totally fine going to whatever high school you choose. Because Orchard teaches you a lot of organizational skills and a lot of public speaking and how to reach out to your teachers. You guys will be completely fine.
Zoe, go ahead, and we'll start with Carmel.
We have this thing called SRT, which stands for Student Resource Time, and you have it every other day for an hour and a half. And if you want to speak to your teachers or go over your homework, go over a test, you just get a pass to go to their rooms during that SRT time. And I'd say the teachers are pretty open to like helping you like figure stuff out.
Cathedral offers, well, we have a flex time that the whole school is off for a certain amount of time. And usually it's open for whatever you want to do, but sometimes if we have a class meeting or if we have mass, yes, we have mass at school. And, well, you can do that, but also the teachers' rooms are all open and you can go to whatever teacher's room you'd like to go. And they'll be in there and you can just, if you just want to talk and have a snack or ask questions, you can do that.
So every department has specific hours, either in the morning or afternoon, where teachers are required to come in and students can meet with them. But if those times don't work for you, you can also meet with them during a study hall or lunch period.
I would say it's extremely easy to reach teachers at university. Again, like everybody else, they're around before school, after school. In a sense, they have study halls as well. So if they're not teaching a class that period, they'll just be sitting anywhere in the building. Sometimes they'll be sitting out in the commons. You can come up to them and talk to them. We also, a lot of teachers text us as well if we need questions. Not like a friendly type of like, oh, we're friends with them in that sense. But we can text them if we have questions. We can email them if we have questions. It really depends on the teacher, but they're very accessible.
I would say for both, they're also very accessible. Like during your freshman year, like they really stress trying to get you to go see your teachers so you can be like acquainted with them and not see them as like this big scary person who doesn't like want to talk to you or something. But all the teachers, all the departments have like a little like room and they all go there and you can just, and they share your schedules with you so you know when they're not teaching.
All right, and we'll start with Cathedral for Donovan's question.
Yes, I do believe that I was well prepared for high school, and especially in the public speaking parts and the English parts, and the math too. I feel like I was really well prepared, especially also in the arts. I was really prepared for that. The only thing that I don't know that I was prepared for was just the big change in numbers and people, and that's just about it.
I would say that I was well prepared for high school and that I was equally or more prepared than students from other Washington Township schools. And Orchard definitely gives a lot of opportunities to be in group projects, and so I think it was helpful.
Yeah, I think I was definitely well prepared for high school, mostly because Orchard gives you prepares you with the skills you need to succeed in high school. So academically, I was ready for all the classes I was in, and because all the classes at Park Tudor Honors, it seems a bit scary, but really I was ready because of the organization skills and time management. Of course, the biggest difference is that you have far more responsibility and freedom as a high schooler, but honestly that's just a good part. You enjoy that part. But yeah, I got ready for high school academic.
I felt pretty well prepared for high school as well, both in the workload and socially. I feel like Orchard gives you a good foundation for both of those things, so it's pretty easy to adjust.
I mean, I was really prepared for high school mainly because of the Orchard and like how they the classes and how they prepare, especially at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. Like the teachers, they really just ease you into it, and especially doing summer classes or a sport really helps you get you into it.
What you don't realize when you get to high school, or until you get to high school, is how unique Orchard is. At no other institution do you ever find a school as devoted to developing the student's character as well as their intellect. And what happens is when you get to high school, not only do you have the tools that these other students have talked about making you prepared for your math test or how you time manage or block out your night, you also have the tools to connect with people. Some of my closest friends are still Orchard students, but I've been able to expand my portfolio because I've been able to take all the tools we've learned here and apply them to high school. So yes, I would argue that I was well prepared for high school, as all of these students were, because we come from such a unique place.
I think that I was prepared for high school because like Orchard does well prepare you for things like with big projects and like you have like due dates and then you work up to that, and that happens a lot during high school, especially with group projects. And there definitely was a difference though, like at least at Carmel, between just like the workload. Like at Orchard, there's definitely homework, but just it's more like real once you get to high school, like how much responsibility you have and how much stuff you have to do every night.
All right, and we'll start with Park Tudor for Christina's question. I'm sorry, North Central for Christina's question.
North Central is a very diverse place. About 50% of the student body is African American, and there's also a substantial Burmese population and a special needs department. And so by attending the school, you may not always be in the same classes as that portion of the student body, but you do get a real world experience.
So although Park Tudor is fairly small, we have a diverse student population. Really, there's a lot of leadership when it comes to diversity. So we have the Gay Straight Alliance, Women's Equality Advancement. We also have a Cafe Club, which is cultural acceptance for everyone. And we also send students every year since it's been happening, to SDLC, which is a student diversity leadership conference. So we also have a spring forward in the spring, which is pretty much where we talk about diversity and its importance and role in Park Tudor and the community.
At Shortridge, there's a pretty decently diverse culture that we have there. Like, we have a life skills program, which is like kids and students that like learn how to do things that we can do on a regular basis, but due to disabilities they cannot. And we've also got different LGBT clubs and after school programs, and we've even got right now I think we have a French exchange student, and so Shortridge is a pretty diverse culture.
University is pretty similar to Orchard in the diversity area, and we also talk about diversity a lot in our community meetings that we have every day.
Yeah, and we, as well as we send kids to SDLC, which is great. If you go to university, you should definitely take that up. We also have affinity groups, so any like minorities in the community, we can come together and share the same, beliefs and similarities, and just kind of talk about issues in the world and issues in your life right now. And you can make any type of program that you would like to at university. So if there's something else that you would like to see, you can create that. But I would say they're pretty supportive, and the diversity is pretty well managed.
You can't say that Brebeuf has like the amount of like different cultures and everything that like a public school would have, but we are very like diverse, and we have these things called diversity dialogues where we like talk about, like last year we had one about when people like when Colin Kaepernick first started kneeling, and we talked about like what that implied and stuff. And we're just like, if there's anything like big that happens that's controversial, we might have a diversity dialogue about it. And like what they were saying, there's like a club for everything that you could imagine. Like we have BSU, which is Black Student Union. We have LGBTQ plus, and all of the things you can imagine. And you don't have to identify as part of that like group to be a part of it.
I feel like Cathedral is pretty diverse. I mean, I have not just in like racial or religion, but in economic background and all sorts of things. Like I have friends from a whole different spectrum of wealth and religions and all that. And I also feel that we have a lot of clubs, like the others have mentioned. I'm personally not part of any of those clubs, but I know that we do offer them.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with Park and Andrew's question.
Being a part of Park Tudor, I was worried going in because it is a K through 12 school, and a lot of those kids, I thought, oh, they're already going to know each other. It's going to be really awkward for me to try and fit in. In reality, half of those kids from like middle school leave, and so really, all the kids that have stayed want new friends as well. I mean, if you've been in school with someone since preschool, you are so ready to meet new people. So they're just as excited. And also, a huge number come from other schools. So you're all in the same boat, really. You all want to meet new people. You're all nervous about meeting new people. So Park Tudor does a good job of just getting all of them together. And everyone really wants to just meet new people.
In my freshman year, I made a lot of new friends, and I managed to keep my old ones from Orchard. And it was a bit difficult because it was like what she said, that a lot of it's an IPS school, so a lot of the other IPS schools feed into Shortridge. A lot of the CFIs feed into Shortridge, so it's already friend groups that have formed that are coming into Shortridge, and I managed to squeeze my way into one. And the whole community itself is very welcoming, and everyone really wants new friends, so it's really easy.
I would say it's really easy at university as well, just because it is not a K through 12, and you're getting kids from all over. There is a freshman retreat every single time there's a new class. On that freshman retreat, you bond. I think usually it's at a campground to do different. Camp Jameson, and you do a lot of team building activities. You get to meet tons of new people, have conversations that you wouldn't normally have because you bonded so quickly with these people. And then once you get into school, you're all ready to go, and then you have your people.
Yeah, so if you're a 7th or 8th grader, you might be nervous going into high school. Know that everyone else going into high school has the same level, if not more, nervousness than you do. And at Brebeuf, it's not K through 12, and as Beatrice alluded to, when you come from a K through 12, you might be looking for different friends to hang out with, and that's really what we get a lot of Brebeuf. And you can meet different kids through sports and clubs. What Brebeuf does, in particular, when they recognize that students might be a little nervous coming in, is we have retreats. So we have freshman retreat, sophomore retreat, junior retreat, and then you might have heard of Kairos, the thing Kairos, infamous Kairos. So freshman retreat is where you get to know some of the students in your freshman class. It's like a group of 60 of you go away to a retreat camp for, I believe it's 2 or 3 days. You just get to know the kids in your freshman class. And as you continue to go on these retreats all the way up to Kairos, you get really close with the students in your class. And then when you're in senior year, you are just the most tight-knit group of students, kind of like you are now. So it is very socially accepting, and you feel like you integrate perfectly within the school because everyone's coming in on the same mentality that you are.
Like everyone else said, like everybody's going from different schools into Carmel High School, and like they're all looking for different friends. Like nobody really knows who came from what school because it's so big. Like if you had like your best friend, you probably have a class with them, maybe you wouldn't, but everybody's just looking to like find new people and find where they fit in.
I know that my class at Cathedral came from about 50 different schools, and that was crazy because most of them, like 1 or 2 students, like that came from Cathedral, but then there were also some that had like 13 or 14 students. And those kids usually had a pretty tight bond, but when you just work your way right in there and you meet a lot of new people freshman year. We also have retreats, and all that sort of stuff. We have a freshman retreat, which is like a day retreat, and sophomore, which is another day one, and then junior's an overnight one, and then senior's like a 2 or 3 night retreat. And I heard senior retreat really changes your life, and you meet a lot of new people, and it's a really good experience.
I would consider it fairly easy to socially integrate at North Central, especially if you participate in summer school or the orientation program. But if you're unable to do so, extracurricular activities or clubs often help to socially integrate too.
All right, thank you. Olivia has our next question, and we're going to start with Shortridge.
At Shortridge, we take part in Indie Do Day, so I think once every quarter we go out and do service within the community. Just a Friday for break, I went to the MLK Center and we assisted seniors. And it's a school-wide thing, so I wouldn't take part in it.
I'm actually in a leadership and service class right now, and there's 8 kids in the class, and each kid is running a service group. And yesterday we had our community day, and you all saw my presentation on that. So we're very involved in community service.
Yeah, so, like Jillian said, at university it's a little bit different. So you have an entire year, it's called Year of Service. So throughout the year you're working on projects that interest you particularly. So last year I was involved with a group called Cyber Seniors, right? And we would go to different assisted living homes, and we would try to bridge the technology gap between today's age and then, technology back from elderly people and aging people in the population that involves. So we would teach them how to use Facebook, email, text, anything that they would like to kind of keep in touch with their loved ones and stay up to date. And then this year, I am in a group that helps refugees. So yesterday we went to Exodus Refugee Center, and we just help them do different things around their building, and we're going to, I think, do a fundraiser later, but it really just depends on your interest, but there's a whole year of it.
At Brebeuf, there's so many opportunities to get service in, and I would say as a freshman, if you're really interested in doing service, you should join clubs, because as a requirement to become a club at Brebeuf, your club has to do service that relates to that club. So like I'm in RAPA, which is raising awareness for animals, and we went to like a dog wash last year, and we washed dogs and made money for, I think it was for Love of Labs charity. And I think as a junior, you have that, community service, like a whole class for it, and you have to have like a bunch of hours. And so I would just say there's opportunities to go to like day springs during the day, and there's just like, if you want to do service, like there's so many opportunities for you.
There are definitely a lot of opportunities also at Carmel for service, and like she said, like there's a bunch of clubs. There's like the Do Something Club, Make a Difference Club. There's House of Representatives, which is like raising money for the children at Riley Children's Hospital, and that's like a big thing. Like we do dance marathon, and last year we raised like $16,000 or something for the children at Riley, and that's one of our like big things that we like push for at Carmel.
I know at Cathedral, I believe we're the only one that requires service hours every single year, and you have to, freshman year it's 10, sophomore 15, junior 20, senior 25 hours of service. And we also each year have a day of service, which you can go to like places all around the city. I know I've been to Eagle Creek one year, and I went to the American Cancer Society another year. And it's just, we do a lot of service and give back to the community.
At North Central, there's a lot of opportunities for service and charity events. For instance, Key Club is a club that does community service and often partners with the sports teams to put on charity events. And also the National Honor Society and Spanish Honor Society requires a certain amount of hours, and teachers often present different opportunities to receive those hours. And we also have Best Buddies, where a student partners with a special needs student and we participate in activities with them. And there is also an environmental awareness club too.
Okay, so you're definitely going to have more homework than you have at Orchard, but that's to be expected because it's like another step up from middle school to high school. But I would never say that I was just like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to get all of this done. Like I'm just like on the ground, like piled with homework like you see like in this cartoon. That's never happened. And like a lot of your teachers, if you're like, oh my gosh, I have 7 tennis matches this week and I have like 400 major projects due, they'll work with you and they'll be like, okay, can you turn this in on Monday? Like they're not just gonna be like, oh, just your excuse from the assignment. No. They're gonna like, but they'll work with you and they'll make sure like you're not drowning and you're not struggling too much. And then like what learning support, there's a program, it's called Learning Center, and I think it's similar to like Boost that you have here. I don't know if they still call it that. But it's like that. So if you need extra help, that's like its whole thing. And
I'd say that it really depends on like what classes you take. So like last year I didn't really take any honors classes. I took one honors class and my homework wasn't too bad. I mean, it definitely was a step up from Orchard just because it is high school. But this year I took some really hard classes and I have to say that I do have a lot of homework. But it is kind of expected because it is like a step up from even last year. But honestly, you can choose like your schedule. Like she said, like there's just a lot of like different classes you can take. So if you know that like, not to say that you're gonna pick easy classes, but if you know that like you won't, if you're on a sports team, you probably don't want to take like all AP classes because then you're just going to overload yourself. But it definitely depends on the type of student you are.
I feel like the homework is, it's definitely more than in middle school, and we also have a rotating schedule, so you don't have every single class every single day. So even if you have homework due the next class period, that can still be like 2 days away, and you won't have to do it. Also, we do offer I think it was one of the first learning support programs in high school, and I know it's one of the best. It's just called the Learning Support Program, and I know that there's around 50 that are accepted into it, and you get to take different classes, and well, not all different classes, but mostly different classes, and it's really more one-on-one with the teacher to really help you get through like whatever you're struggling, if you're struggling with something. Learning disability, and it will really help you get through it.
So similar to Carmel, it varies a lot depending on what classes you take. In the honors program, I would say there's a fairly substantial amount of homework, but at North Central there's a learning center which is open to all students and consists of different retired teachers from various departments, and so you can often visit them during your study hall and just receive additional help when needed.
So at Park Tudor, there is definitely more homework as going in than everyone middle school. But that, of course, again, is to be expected. I also saw a divide between sophomore year and junior year. In junior year was a tough year just based on the kinds of classes that I was taking. So I was taking, a lot of APs, and so that got pretty difficult. But really, your teachers are there to support you. And so what's great about that is if you tell them, look, I have 3 tests on Monday, you actually are able to reschedule one of them. So with the teacher, and they'll plan something with you. And set that up so that you aren't overloaded all the time. And they understand student athletes, they understand all of those different activities and plays. I have one friend who is on the volleyball team, and she is part of every production at the school, and she maintains an incredibly high GPA. So teachers understand, and it's not too much homework, but you definitely feel it every now and then.
So Shortridge, with Shortridge being an IB school, they're we really have two programs: the middle years program, which is freshman and sophomore year, and the diploma program, which is junior and senior year. And there's definitely a jump from being in the middle years program to the diploma program, because the diploma program is all about college level courses and getting you ready for college. So there's definitely a jump in homework. But another great thing about Shortridge is that we have a block schedule, in that if you have a class on Monday, you won't have that class until Wednesday. So you have 2 days to do that homework.
The homework advice I can give you for high school is going to be pretty generic, because all high schools are going to be kind of the same in the homework load and how you can handle it. One thing I can say though is thank you so much to all of my orchard teachers who had me, because English, I love English. I took about, I think, 3 English classes last year, and let me just tell you, I can just churn out one of those essays, papers, like 4 pages in 40 minutes. It's great. I love it. So thank you to Orchard for that. You guys are very prepared when it comes to writing and when it comes to English classes. So honestly, you just have to think about time management, and you have to think about, you have to really be willing to contact your teachers and be honest with them. And if you didn't do one of their assignments, come up to them and be like, not the day of, but come up to them, before, or, honestly, if it is the day of, you still need to talk to them and just be like, hey, I didn't do this, I'm sorry, I will get it done, and kind of plan with them. So that's all you have to do, just make sure you reach out.
The teachers are very understanding if you have something that happened in your personal life, or you were out late at a sports game. They'll understand and they'll give you an extension usually. But you just have to talk to your teachers. And it also depends on if you're taking AP classes, you have a lot more homework in AP classes than you would in normal class. So you just have to manage your time well.
Right. So 7th and 8th graders, unfortunately, the time management segue was kind of nice. So we have run out of time. We do have a few questions that our middle schoolers didn't get to ask, but as I look at those, it looks like we kind of covered them already. Uniforms, I know we talked about, Cathedral has uniforms, the others do not. Everybody sort of talked a lot about extracurricular opportunities and activities already, and class sizes, maybe something we didn't get to. So I'll take information and share that out with our middle schoolers and 7th and 8th graders. If you'll give these wonderful panelists another round of applause.
So for studying, there's Quizlet. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's for if you have a bunch of vocab, or you need to study things. That's a really nice way to study for things. At Carmel, there's I'm pretty sure a lot of these schools, they have and they have apps where you can look at your grades and see your assignments. And at Carmel, it's called Power School. So that's basically.
We also have Power School. That's good because you can always check up, and the parents can check up on your grades too. And usually the parents know my grades before I do, so it's always fun to get the text in the middle school. But also the Schoology, which is an uploading thing to your teachers. So if you do we all have iPads at Cathedral. And if you're uploading it, you just upload it through Schoology, and then you can see your grade back, and if they have any notes or anything, side notes they say about your project, then they can do that. And we also use Notability, which is something, it's just a note document, and you can write what classes you have and the homework you have. You can also draw on it with your finger and type and highlight stuff. It's really good.
So North Central's app where you can see your grades is called Skyward, and another app I would recommend would be Remind, where teachers can communicate with students through text messages. So those are my recommendations.
so that's been really helpful. We actually just started using it this year, and so we're going to continue using it because we were using Blackboard, which was online, and it was not very good. So Canvas is just fantastic for that. And also, I will say Quizlet saved me my junior year when I had to study for Spanish 4, because the amount of vocab we have is ridiculous. So Quizlet is a must in high school.
So at Shortridge, we have an IB exclusive tool called ManageBack, and it's basically an all-in-one tool that it has our classes, it has our grades, you can submit assignments. So like it has like a daily schedule and a weekly schedule for what assignments are due and which classes you have on that day. And it's really unique to IB schools. And we also every student is given a MacBook. So it's also an online tool, not just an app.
At university, we have a program called My Backpack, and it's where teachers will put your grades in. A lot of teachers also use Google Classroom or Haiku page, depending on what their preference is.
Yeah, I don't really know if I would say that I personally use many apps because university is a one-to-one based laptop programming system. So everybody has their own laptop. The apps are just kind of going to be more to what your student wants, but definitely Quizlet. That's perfect.
So Brebeuf just gave a lot of money to our IT department because we like 3 years ago, we couldn't really keep ourselves together. Now we've gotten everything. So we have Plus Portals, which is, again, you can check. Teachers will post homework assignments, your grades, and they also give a parent login. So if you would like to see what your children are doing, you can check online. But we have a bunch of Chromebooks, so that's where a lot of our money went to. So if you don't have your computer that day or you just don't have one, you can get one from the IT department because everything that we do is connected through Google. So we have Google Calendar, you can check. Teachers will post all the stuff to Google Calendar. We do even quizzes through Google. They have like Google surveys which we make quizzes on. A lot of group projects are done in there. Specifically, Brebeuf has their own app, so if you have an ultra day or if there's a convocation or a mass, is what we like to call those, and you just didn't know it, they send you updates to your phone. Yeah, the Brebeuf app, Student Plus, and then all the Google ones are, what Brebeuf uses. So.
And to elaborate on what Logan said, Brebeuf is BYOT. So a lot of there's a lot of MacBooks and stuff, but any student can bring any device that they want. Some people have iPads. There's like every single kind of computer you could ever imagine. And then another app that I use a lot that nobody's mentioned is GroupMe, which is like our teachers in our classes will make a GroupMe, and we can like talk about what the homework assignments were if like somebody forgot and stuff like that.
So everybody else kind of talked about what technology, like hardware they use. What do you guys do at home?
Well, we don't have, we have computer labs and the school has like Chromebooks and stuff, but during class, we usually don't use computers during class, we handwrite stuff. But if we have a timed write or an essay, we'll go to the lab and use the computers for that.
All right, parents, any other questions? Yes.
I think what's critical going into high school is the communication within the home. I think I wish that I had been or kind of expressed to my parents more how I was feeling and what I was going through as a freshman, especially because it's a big change. Especially when I had been in Orchard since I was 4, so I was not ready for a completely new group of kids. And I wish that there had been more communication there and even between the teachers and really being able to talk about those things. Also, in terms of math, I was not a very strong math student, so I actually do have extra tutoring and still have had extra tutoring throughout my high school career. So math was a slightly troubled subject.
Going into Shortridge, I was super nervous to meet new people because I'd known people from Orchard my whole life. So going in, I was super nervous, and then I wish I would have known like making friends is not as hard as I thought it would be. And also just academically knowing like how to stay on top of your assignments and knowing what's coming so you can get ahead.
Yeah, I was very prepared academically, but I play a fall sport, so it was kind of hard getting time management down as a freshman with homework and all that. But once you figure it out, it's a really smooth transition.
Yeah, and math was an issue for me as well. So if you know that your child has some type of weak subject, make sure that they kind of get a hold of that before they go into high school, because then it can just kind of fester and then it gets worse. And then you need to, make sure you take advantage of tutoring, anything else you would like. And then like Beatrice said, check-ins are always really good. So parent-to-kid check-ins, like how emotional check-ins, to see if your child's procrastinating, just different things like that. It would really help.
I kind of have two answers for this. So one is more personal to me. When I came in, I thought I was like socially just not going to be able to thrive. Like I some of my closest friends go to this school, but like my closest guy friend left to go to a different school, so I was feeling a little nervous about meeting new people. And honestly, if it's one message, and this isn't even specific to Brebeuf, I would say relay this to any of your kids that are strapping in students. That high school is a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but you 100% meet someone that you get a close connection with, and then from that you kind of start to build almost like a cocoon of kids around you that enjoy being around you. So whether or not you have your best friend, you will have people around you that love you and will do anything for you and with you. That's on. If I could have told myself that freshman year, I would have saved myself so many like Friday nights just like wondering whether someone likes me or not. Kind of come back down to school level, I would definitely say I also wasn't that particularly great at math either. So because high school, it comes and it comes fast. So if there's anything you might think your strapping up student struggles with, definitely try and find a way, whether that's tutoring or maybe taking like some extra time in the homework in the math section or the writing section. Definitely get to that before it grows and becomes a problem, because you can see that kind of ripple effect down to senior year if you don't make it by freshman year.
Yeah, I also, along with some other people, struggled in math. I'd say if you have like a weak spot, just make sure that like you like fill that, whether it's tutoring or something else or like extra help, because it does, like, at least at Carmel for me, like the teachers, they'll help you, but at the same time they have maybe like 25 other kids that also need help. So like if you have to like self-advocate and like do it kind of yourself, because like, yeah, it's kind of expected.
Freshman year, I had geometry, and personally, I felt prepared for this course, but subsequent math classes were a little more difficult for me, just because I think math is generally a tough subject, and so I don't think Orchard could have better prepared me. It was just a matter of
Sorry.
it's just a matter of like personal responsibility to prepare yourself for math, and other subjects like science and Spanish and English I all felt prepared for.
Yeah, I actually think a huge part of math is confidence. And I think as a young math student, I kind of lacked that confidence, and that caused issues later on. So I started out, and actually I was in Algebra 1 freshman year, then I went to geometry, and I actually did very well in those subjects, and so I got that base. needed. And then it was only until I got to Algebra 2 with trig and now through calculus that I'm again finding it a bit difficult. So I think again it kind of goes back to confidence, and I'm not 100% sure how you change that. But I think honestly, Orchard is the best school for creating confident students and kids who are able to speak up a bit faster and get questions. So I think that might just be more of a personal thing, I'm not sure. But I do think confidence plays a role in that.
I started out in Algebra 2, and then I went to Geometry, and now I'm in Math Studies. And it's Math Studies, well, when you first go into the diploma program, you have two choices for math, and that's Math Studies or Math Standard Level. Math Standard Level is calculus or pre-calculus, and studies is more going over Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry concepts, so you can do better in calculus in college. But I do think it's a very good idea to take Algebra 1 first, because in IB there's really not a varying amount of, there's no honors, like you can't go, there's only one Algebra 1 class, you can't go from a little bit higher, a little bit lower in Algebra 1, there's just one Algebra 1 class.
I would say that with all schools, you're gonna kind of win some and lose them. So Orchard was amazing at making me a well-rounded person and made me the person I am today. So I didn't really meet many other students who, I mean, we can all play instruments or sing. Like, we are all good at, public speaking. We're all very caring and love community service and very good at English. And I was great at languages and anything, science too. Basically, we're very well-rounded students at Orchard. I did struggle some in math. I don't really know if it's because there's a barrier between like traditional math and then progressive math, but I think progressive math at Orchard really does work well for a lot of kids. But then there are also going to be the kids who have like a traditional mindset math, and with those kids, it's going to really depend on your student. So. I also know a lot of Orchard kids who are amazing at math, so it really depends. But if you do have a kid who has a different learning style for math, tutoring, just really working at it.
From my case scenario, this is not a reflection of Orchard's math curriculum. It was more of like a round hole, square peg situation. I'm more like on the English, humanities. Like when I want to go to college, I want to major in economics because I love theories, and in science, my most favorite parts of science are the conceptual theories or postulates or whatever you'd like to call them. So I was prepared here, and if I'm being honest, what Brebeuf does is when they place you into a math program, what you do the summer before is you take a math placement test, and it's the same thing I believe for language, and there might be one other one.
Basically, any honors class you want to take, you have to take a placement test.
Right. So I studied for all of them except for the math one, which is coming on my part. So if you do come to Brebeuf and you do want your student to go into a higher math program, which I would recommend, it's not outrageously hard, have them study for those placement exams.
Yeah, so I actually tested out a Spanish one, went straight into Spanish too. We've had lots of Spanish here. I think that really helps if your kid wants to do Spanish. If your kid wants to do French or something, that's another story. But Spanish is great. Test it out.
Yeah, so I went straight into Spanish too, and I felt very good at Spanish too.
Well, I tested out of Spanish. I was under the impression that if I took Latin, I would do better on the ACT because I would know and read some words. Not really. They kind of like, I ended up, I think that's more on the SAT. And when you get to, maybe you might not have a student in high school yet, there kind of is a difference between the SAT and the ACT. I kind of wish I would have stuck with Spanish because Orchard definitely did There's something about this progressive education that I cannot seem to understand, but it did me so well that I'm a little upset I tested it out of Spanish because I would have done pretty well. But I know other students from Orchard that are in high school taking Spanish do incredibly well.
I actually tested out of Spanish 1 and I stayed in Spanish, and it's just, they like start talking to you in Spanish and they expect you to understand, and a lot of the other kids from other schools struggled, but like, since the teacher has been talking to us in Spanish since we were 7 years old, at least for me, because I came in first grade, but like, we've been hearing it for the last, like, I've been taking Spanish for 10 years now, so I can like understand what she's saying, and I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I tested out of Spanish 1 and went into Spanish 2, and it was really helpful because, like, I went here since I was 3, I think, and we even had Spanish class, like, in 3/4s, and they've been talking to us in Spanish, like, the little that we knew, since we were 3 years old, so it definitely helps, and, like, there's not much of, like, I wouldn't say that I was like, whoa, like, Spanish 2 is really hard, like, it was pretty, like, normal.
I was personally in the Boost program, so I didn't take Spanish from 6th to 8th. So then I went into Spanish 1, and then I found out, like, I don't really like Spanish. So then I switched over to Latin, and I've been doing pretty well in Latin since. And the related languages, they're both Romantic languages, so even the Spanish at Cathedral helped me out. Spanish at Orchard helped me out at Cathedral taking Latin, so.
I was in Spanish 2 honors freshman year, and I felt prepared based on my Orchard education.
I'm in Spanish 2 as a freshman, and just because the sophomores who are in Spanish 2 this year took Spanish 1 last year, they hadn't taken Spanish like their entire life like I had, so the beginning of Spanish 2 was kind of like review, and at first I wasn't sure because I felt like I already knew it, I should move on, but now I feel like I'm in a place where like we're learning new things, and it's good for me.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming today. On behalf of the Parents Association of Orchard, I just want to tell you, we are always so grateful to have you back. You make us proud. You represent your institutions really well, and it's always just so fun to hear your well-spoken grads. So one more round of applause for these folks.